Marijuana use should be legalized nationally in the United States. Cannabis consumption can create happy consumers, decrease crime, and end costly. Marijuana should be used. Marijuana should be legalized nationally in the United States. Cannabis consumption can create happy consumers, decrease crime, and end costly enforcement of crazy laws that are unnecessary to a civilized society. Cannabis, also known as marijuana or weed, has been legalized in many states for medical use. But recently, more voters are approving marijuana use for recreational purposes. After the recent elections, 15 states in the US have legalized marijuana. But it should be a national law, not state by state. Nearly 2/3 of Americans support the legalization of marijuana, according to a recent Gallup poll. Some of the arguments against legalizing marijuana seem logical at first in looking at the pros and cons of legalizing the drug. However, valid arguments to legalize the drug make more sense if you just look at it. One argument against legalization is that it would lead to increased emergency room visits, and traffic accidents and deaths would also increase. Yet, in states where marijuana is legal, alcohol has caused many more deaths than marijuana. But alcohol is legal. According to the CDC, 88,000 people die each year from alcohol poisoning. But there are no cases or no deaths of marijuana overdose because it's almost humanly impossible to do so. As far as traffic accidents, some studies show that drivers under the influence of marijuana tend to be more cautious and they actually take fewer risks than a drunk driver would. A 2016 Reuters article said traffic deaths actually fell 11% on average in states that had legalized medical marijuana. Another argument against legalization is that it would put another harmful substance into our society. But to those who are making this argument, why wouldn't we just make tobacco and alcohol illegal then? Because last time I checked, those are harmful to society too. Legalizing marijuana is opposed by many health organizations. And another argument against legalizing it is that it would cause an increased use in teenagers. Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics says that because our brains aren't fully developed until we're 25, marijuana can be harmful for young people. While this may be true, there are no signs that legalizing it will lead to an increased use in teens. There's no statistics or facts that back up that statement just yet. A Washington Post article said that teen marijuana use actually sharply dropped in Colorado after it was legalized. Wouldn't you know? While this may be because of other factors, the article got its information from a quality source, the National Survey of Drug Use. In addition, the Center for Disease Control, or many of you know as the CDC, especially amid coronavirus, said marijuana use by 12 to 17-year-olds went down 17% in the past year. If adults really want children to be safe and to keep them safe, they might want to start by maybe being better role models with their alcohol and tobacco use. There are many other reasons to legalize marijuana as well. For example, it has been shown that crime has actually gone down significantly in areas where medical marijuana dispensaries began to open in some states. Wouldn't you know? One reason is because people use alcohol less. Alcohol use can lead to violent crimes such as domestic violence and assault. The National Council of Alcoholism says that alcohol is a factor in 40% of all violent crimes in America. Some of these crimes include assault, robbery, and rape. Unlike alcohol, marijuana tends to keep people happy and relaxed. And when you're happy and relaxed, you're less prone to commit a violent crime such as robbery or assault or rape. It's not likely. Legalization will also free up police to take care of issues that actually matter. More dangerous situations, such as the violence crimes I just mentioned. Add that to the amount of time and money spent on courts and our jailing system for non-violent offenders and criminals. And it makes no sense to criminalize marijuana and lock these people up. Unfortunately for people of color, the number of marijuana possession arrests is much higher among minorities. Although white and black people smoke weed roughly at the same rate, a New York Times article called "The Injustice of Marijuana Arrests" said that a black person is almost 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana than a white person. When Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, decriminalized marijuana, they saw a dramatic decrease in arrests and a decline in the disproportionate arrest rate of minority groups in the city as well. Legalization, in most cases, expunges all previous marijuana charges, which allows people to continue to live their lives without a criminal record hanging over their head, especially for something that isn't extreme. Legalization will allow low-level offenders of nonviolent crimes to be released from jail and have their record squeaked clean of any marijuana wrongdoing. While a marijuana arrest may not seem that important to the average American, a criminal record for marijuana possession can prevent people from getting a job. Okay? Financial aid from school, which we are all in, and I'm sure plenty of us use financial aid, or even getting a loan. There are executives on Wall Street who have stolen fortunes, and all they got was a slap on the wrist. Yet there's people who have been caught with marijuana who just get minor charges, and it would destroy a young person's career and future. Legalizing pot would also help the economy a huge deal too. Allowing the use of weed within the law would take the money away from the drug dealers, and instead of money going to criminals breaking the law, legitimate businesses would be making money by selling marijuana. And the government would also be making money off it as well. Because if legitimate businesses would be selling it, tax dollars would be resulted from it by state and federally. That's a win-win in my book. Tax money is needed at the state level, especially during the coronavirus era. States need the money for testing and other important stuff to keep its citizens safe. Marijuana tax revenue would help that. For an example, there are many schools in minority areas that don't have computers for students to learn virtually when needed. Tax dollars from marijuana sales could directly be used for a situation like that. And a great example would be in Colorado, where they legalized marijuana, and they were able to do things they weren't able to do before. According to CBS News, $40 million of new tax money was spent for public school construction in Colorado. and over $100 million for things like health programs in schools. That's a lot of good. Another place that legalizing weed would help in the economy would be job creation. States where marijuana is legal, shops would open and start to sell it. The jobs that would be lost by drug dealers would now be legal jobs. And not only would the marijuana be taxed, but the income would be taxed too for those workers. Another win-win. Instead of money going to criminals, they'd be going right into the citizens' pockets and into the government's use for where it's needed. So let's look at some states where marijuana is legal. It's obvious that the economy benefits there. So it would obviously correlate to a benefit nationally as well. For all these reasons, the use of marijuana should be legalized nationally. Bottom line here. In states where marijuana and using marijuana is allowed, crime has gone down. And that will happen in other states too if they get on board. In addition, local police will have more time to go after more serious and violent offenders. And this directly will make communities safer from actual criminals. There will be fewer arrests of minorities, which can help police be viewed more positively in the public outlook. Drug dealers will go away. They'd be irrelevant and obsolete. And if they don't go away, at least their sales will be decreased a great deal, and they'd be less needed. Workers who pay taxes and follow the law would replace these drug dealers, working class people like who you and I are planning on being. These aren't the only jobs created either. Once marijuana is legal nationally, the government will need to make sure marijuana is safe like food inspectors do now. So that's a whole new job market that would open up if marijuana was legalized as well. A whole new job market where hundreds, if not thousands of people could enter and make a life for themselves. Things have changed today in society. Now that 2/3 of Americans support legalization today, Congress should get to work immediately and pass the law to make we the people happy again. Thank you.